Hello, good afternoon to all of you. I hope all of you are doing well. So in today's class, we are going to discuss about user interface design. So user interface is a portion of a software system that is responsible for all the interaction that takes place between the user and the software system. That implies that user interface design is a very critical, practical, and a important problem that is to be solved. Now, aesthetics apart, a difficult user interface may lead to high level of error rate or a higher level of user error, which may subsequently lead to users dissatisfaction. So this is very much important. So if the user interface is very difficult to use, then the error rate may be very high, leading to user dissatisfaction, eventually leading to the failure of the entire software system. So that is the reason why now what we have is we have organizations spending sufficient amount of development effort in developing the use case. That is almost 50% of the total development effort is purely dedicated for design and development of the use case. Now, if the use case is not systematically developed, then you may require considerable amount of effort for bringing about fabrication or bringing about cosmetic changes to it. It will not only increase the effort, but in turn it may lead to customers' dissatisfaction, leading to the failure of the software system. So it's very important for the organization to have adapted a right mechanism for developing use cases. So let us try to understand some of the goodness characteristics that a software user interface should exhibit. So the first goodness criteria is speed of learning. So a good user interface should be very simple and easy to learn. Okay, so this is very important. So any user interface should be very simple and easy to learn. So a good user interface should not require user to memorize commands. Okay, so a good user interface should not require the user to memorize commands. So the command issue procedure should be very simplified and very consistent. So if the command issue procedure is very simplified and consistent, then what we need not do is we do not need time for memorizing commands. So an important factor affecting speed of learning is consistency. So once a user learns about a command, so a user should be able to use similar commands even in difficult or different circumstances for carrying out similar action. So if there are different versions of the software system, so if they have information about a particular command issue procedure, so the same can be used for performing operation in the different systems. So for an example, Windows. So the success of the Windows system highly depends on the way how the objects in the interface of the Windows operating system is organized. So if the user is acquainted to one of the Windows user interface or user interface of one of the Windows operating system, then they can use same command issue procedure for using the interface of the other Windows operating systems as well. So that's one of the reasons why Windows operating system has been very successful. Now, a user can learn about an interface faster if it is based on day-to-day real life example. So, an example, if you use metaphors, right? Okay, and use concepts with which users are already familiar with, right? So, these are some of the goodness criteria that should be there in a user interface that enables speed of learning. Now, speed of use. So, speed of use is determined by the time and effort necessary to initiate and execute different commands. The time and user effort necessary to execute different commands should be minimal. So this is very true. So less amount of time has to be actually required for command issue procedure. So example of bad interfaces. So users required to type in lengthy commands. Command issue involves moving the mouse to widely different areas of the screen and can slow down the operation speed of the user as well. So it's very much important that we need to focus on speed of use because the usability of the software system heavily relies on speed of use as well. Now, speed of recall. So once the user learns about a particular interface, the speed of recall about using the interface should be maximized. So people should be capable of using the knowledge they have acquired from the past use of the interface in order to use the interface at a current point in time. So speed of recall is improvised or improved if the interface is based on metaphors, symbolic command issue procedure as an intuitive command name. So this is very much true. So if we use metaphors or resemblance between the resemblance of the objects with the real life examples, so instead of you typing the command, if you have symbolic command and if you have intuitive command names. Now, error rate. So a good user interface should minimize the scope of committing errors. So error rate can be easily measured as a count of error committed by the different users. So good systems should be capable of minimizing the scope of committing errors. So if we, instead of using command-based system, if you have a symbolic representation for execution of command, then the error rate will be very minimal. So error monitoring can also be automated. So instruments can be used where or used in order to monitor the total amount of error that has been committed. So record the frequency and type of error committed by the user. So by recording the type and the frequency of errors that are committed by the user, what we can do is we can look about in the way how the errors are to be managed. So how to reduce error possibilities? So what we can have is we have consistent set of command names, consistency in the command issue procedure, and consistency in the behavior of similar commands, and simplicity of command issue procedure. So this is very much essential, right? Attractive. So a good user interface should be attractive. A good user interface catches user attention and fancy, right? Definitely. So a system has to have a very good user interface. So user interface catches the attention of the user. In this regard, so graphical user interface has definitely more advantage over text-based interface. Now, consistency. So, consistency is highly desirable because having a consistent set of command issue procedure will enable one to make a user interface very user friendly. So, consistent set of command is very desirable. Allows the user to generalize the knowledge about one aspect of the interface to another. So, consistency helps in speed of learning, speed of recall. This is what you learn. So, it also helps in reducing the error rate. Now, feedback. So, a good user interface should be capable of providing constant feedback to the user. So, for an example, say for an example, the amount of time that's required for processing. So, for an example, if an error is committed, then what we have is we have a prompt stating that the error has been committed. So, if possible, the user should be periodically informed about the progress that is being made in the processing of the command. So, in absence of any response from the computer for a long time, a user might even start or recovery or shutdown procedure in panic. So, you see, this is the reason why feedback is very much important. So, a good user interface should be capable of providing feedback to the user about the progress, about the way how the operation is being performed. Now, support for multi-skill label. Definitely, a user interface should be usable to an expert, to an amateur, and to a starter. So, user interface should be usable to all set of audiences that may be wanting to use the software system in order to perform operation. So, it should support different level of sophistication in the command issue procedure. Definitely, right? So, user with different experience labels prefer different types of interfaces. So experienced user are more concerned about the speed of the command, whereas a simple user pays prime importance to usability aspects. So this is very much important. So a user interface should be capable of enabling an experienced user as well as an amateur user use the software system in order to realize a given business, right? So a simple user is often discouraged by cryptic command names. So if you have difficult command names, and if the command issue procedure is very lengthy, right, or you have complex command issue procedure, right, okay, if the commands are elaborate, so it slows down the command issue procedure, and it puts off experienced user, definitely, right? Okay, so you see, these are some of the aspects that deals about a user interface capable of supporting a different skill level, right? So now, error recovery. So when a user commits an error, a good interface should be capable of enabling user to undo the mistake. So that is very much essential. So all categories of errors are user. The user may commit all categories of errors. So for all possible categories of errors, there should be a mechanism defined for enabling the system to recover. Right. Okay. So That is the undo facility. So a good user interface should allow user to undo mistakes. So users are often inconvenienced by if they cannot recover from even a simple error. So this is very much true, right? Okay. So a good user interface should enable users to come back from errors, right? So a good user interface should allow the user to undo mistakes, right? And very often it so happen that user is inconvenienced if they cannot recover from the error. Now, user guidelines in online help. So every good user interface should have online help associated with it. So user might need guidance or seek help from the system. So user guidance is provided through two broad categories of methods. One is called as online help, and the other one is guidance and error message produced in response to the user action. So that is the way how feedback or online guidance or user guidance is provided. So you can have a help file associated with each of the software system that enables one to use the software system, or associated with each of the action there might be several prompts that may be associated that provides feedback to the customer. Now online help, right? So online help, so generic help message are not very useful. So online help message should be tailored to the context in which help is invoked. So whenever people will be trying to look for a particular problem, they may be looking for the content in the online help. So online help should be always content specific. So it should not be generic in nature. It should be always content specific, and it should enable user to use the system in order to perform operations. So all the systems that's to be built, right, or that should be built, has to have an online help associated with it. So a good online help should provide message in context dependent way. So what we need to do is we need to ensure that whatever the user is searching for is provided in the online help. It should keep track of what user is doing. So it should help messages. It should have help messages that is tailored to the user's experience, right? Okay. So for different label of user's experience, what we need to have is we need to have different types of messages that are associated. So it should take advantage of graphical capabilities of the screen. So graphical description of the problem is very easy to understand. So what we need to do is we need to build up the help materials in such a manner that it has diagrammatic representations on it, right? So it should not just be a copy of the user manual. So these are the characteristics of online help that may be provided with the system. Likewise, we have the guidance messages, right? Again, so it may be the next action he or she might initiate, the current state of the system, progress made so far, right? So a good guidance system should have different levels of sophistication for different categories of user. So user should have an option to turn off the detailed message. So these are the characteristics of guidance message, right? So error message. So error message should be very polite. Error message should be associated, should not be associated with noise. So it may so happen that it may embarrass the user. The message should suggest how a given error can be rectified. If appropriate, the user should be given the option of invoking online help or to find out more about the error situation. So these are some of the goodness criteria that a user interface should exhibit. So in today's class, what we learned about is we have learned about what is a user interface. We have learned about why is the user interface design important. We have learned about why it's difficult to use interface, what are the problems that are associated with using difficult interfaces. We have learned about the amount of effort the organizations are investing in order to build up a user interface that is rather acceptable by the customer. Then we learned about the various goodness characteristics of the user interface, where we learned about speed of learning. We have learned about speed of use. Then we talked about the speed of recall. Then we talked about error rate, and then attractiveness, consistency, feedback, support for multiple skill level, right? Error recovery, user guidance, and online help, right? So the characteristics of online help. Then we talked about the characteristics of guidance messages. Then we talked about error message, right? And then In the next class, what we'll be talking about is we'll be talking about the different types of interfaces that we can possibly have, right? So thank you very much. Have a very good day.